Today's news dump will feature a PS5 update, a comment from Smash's director on Fire Emblem, and a new Final Fantasy XIV update that ensures that my bunny girl's adventures aren't over just yet. Lally ho, YouTube, Justin here with the Den of Nerds Gaming. Like, subscribe, bell. Alright, that's done. Let's get into it. Now we're going to kick off today's show with not just an important piece of information for the gaming community at large, but for me personally. And that's going to be this dope Final Fantasy XIV patch. If you haven't touched Final Fantasy XIV yet, seriously, you gotta. It's easily the best MMO on the entire market today. And the game itself is kind of a miracle in that it went from being total trash to hit after hit with its revised update as well as the expansion. And the next patch for the game's most recent expansion, Shadowbringers, did get a trailer very recently. Titled Echoes of a Falling Star, this patch promises to bring the game's critically acclaimed Shadowbringers storyline on the first baby steps towards its overall conclusion, with the Warrior of Darkness continuing to travel to find the secrets of the new mysterious land known as the First. Now, in addition to this new bit of story content, Final Fantasy fans like myself are absolutely salivating over one of the new bosses that is making a cameo appearance in the game for players to attempt to take down. The Ruby Weapon, one of the secret bosses of Final Fantasy VII, is going to be making its first appearance in the game. Now honestly, this whole development really makes sense. The Final Fantasy VII Remake is coming out this year, so they probably want to hype that up as much as possible with anything that's included in this game. It's almost like they planned it or something. Now, if this thing is anything like it was initially, I'm sure it will immediately kill the rest of your party, and you will be forced to fight it mano a mano for at least a little while. Let's just hope you're not a healer, because that ain't gonna be fun. We are also getting the second tier of the Eden Endgame Raid series, aptly named as it references the powerful summon from Final Fantasy VIII. This raid promises some new tricky battles for hardcore players to tackle on both regular and the horrific Savage difficulty. But it most importantly introduces a younger version of Ramuh, and I'm sure thirsty fans are making fan art of him as we speak, despite the fact that this new version is literally a centaur. Actually, knowing the internet, that probably just made people start working on fan art even faster than they would normally. Internet's a weird place. Now this patch is also bringing with it a bunch of new quests, a bunch of new dungeons, new balancing changes, and more adjustments to plenty of the live events this game has going on. Gang, Final Fantasy XIV is just the gift that keeps on giving. From the cross-platform play, to the wonderful community engagement, to the well-written story, to the magnificent environments and music and everything else, producer Naoki Yoshida and his team, the work they've put into this game is just simply astonishing. And if their track record for quality content continues, you can expect Final Fantasy XIV to continue to be a titan in the MMO sphere for years and years to come. Alright, let's go ahead and segue off of my gushing for a little bit and talk about this newfangled PS5. So the next-gen PlayStation console did get a website put up last week, but that was overall kind of not newsworthy, so we didn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. But PlayStation CFO Hiroki Totoki dropped a very interesting quote when asked about the PlayStation 5's initial price point very recently. Now this quote here was translated, so bear with me. What is not very clear or visible is because we are competing in the space. So it is very difficult to discuss anything about the price at this time. Depending on the price level, we may have to determine the promotion that we are going to deploy and how much cost we are prepared to pay. So it is a question of balance. It is difficult to speak concretely about PS5 pricing at this stage, but fans and investors can be sure that Sony will choose the optimal approach. Everyone, it sounds like what Totoki is saying here, that they are going to wait. They are going to wait until they have some sort of price for the unfortunately named Xbox One X, and that they're going to build their entire pricing strategy around what that system costs. Now, it's very difficult to say at this point what exactly the price point for all of these new systems is going to be, But these companies have to make sure that the system pricing remains competitive, because if it's not competitive, then we're all just going to wait until these systems go on sale and we're going to purchase them then, instead of adopting them early like these companies want. They want to show their investors that people are buying these consoles early, that they have faith in the brand. Now, if you're unsure about how much the PS5 may cost, well, for reference, the PS4 debuted at $400 USD back in 2013. So I'll keep your expectations around there while we're waiting for this announcement. Now, for comparison, the Xbox One dropped at $500 USD. I really think Sony is likely to undercut them when this announcement is made, and they're going to use the strong and well-established PS4 library as leverage to set expectations that Sony is going to drop some excellent games with its console, and it is going to be a good idea to invest in that early on. And they're also going to use that to say that Microsoft's exclusive offerings simply can't be trusted, which I'm going to give them that. PS4 had a ton of fantastic exclusives in its library. Horizon Zero Dawn, the Spider-Man game, list goes on, even though I only named 2. Oh, God of War. Let's throw God of War up there too. Why not? Xbox, it's like it wasn't even here this gen. And since we talked about Sony and Microsoft today, it's only fair to end today's conversation with some Nintendo news. And what better thing to talk about than a quote from Smash Ultimate director Masahiro Sakurai. Now, if you've been on the internet recently in literally any Nintendo-related fan community, you know that Byleth, the newest addition to Smash's roster, a character from the recently released Fire Emblem 3 Houses, wasn't really met with a lot of positive fanfare. Now, Mr. Sakurai himself actually commented on this, agreeing with those upset fans in a recent interview with Japanese gaming magazine Famitsu, agreeing that there are too many Fire Emblem characters. Quote, "There are too many Fire Emblem characters, and there are too many Sword characters. I too understand," Sakurai writes. However, these things are already decided, so we move forward. Ultimately, Sakurai explains Nintendo is responsible for dealing which characters make the cut. I don't choose the fighters based on my own preference. That's for Nintendo to bring in, Sakurai says. That will be the case for the next wave of DLC characters. Sakurai confirmed during the recent Byleth reveal stream that all 6 new characters in development for the game have already been selected, so there's no use in telling him your requests. We actually touched on this in a video here recently, everyone, and what Mr. Sakurai says absolutely confirms it. The man doesn't just pick who he wants willy-nilly, even though he is a devout Fire Emblem fan like myself. Nintendo ultimately makes the final decision when it comes to these kinds of inclusions. And with Fire Emblem Heroes, Nintendo's Fire Emblem mobile title, making the company almost $700 million since launch, well, that just goes to show that Fire Emblem is hugely profitable. And Nintendo is absolutely going to lean on that strong brand as it continues to make them money. But I'm mad about it. Fire Emblem's a good series. Good for them. And that's pretty much what we've got for you today. Final Fantasy XIV's new patch is looking absolutely crazy. The PS5 will likely wait until the Xbox One X has a price point before they announce their own. And stop bullying Sakurai. Nintendo put Fire Emblem in Smash because it continues to make money. Make sure you tell us your thoughts on any of these stories down in our comments section below. Seriously, let's talk about it. Okay, let's go ahead and check that nerd card before we finally get out of here. And we're gonna do it with a Final Fantasy XIV question. Now, a lot of classes and jobs have been released for Final Fantasy XIV over the years, and most of those have arrived with a brand new expansion pack. But when we got our first new job in the game way back when, it actually just dropped right into the game with a patch, no expansion required. Now, what was the first new job added to Final Fantasy XIV? Make sure you let us know down in the comment section below for a chance at a shout out in a future video. As we always say here, I hope you're all having an awesome and nerdy day, and I will see you all in our next gaming video.